Brenda's sitting by the window pane, lost her husband, lost her name. Government's hands, they took her kin, but they'll never take her spirit's grin. CPS came knocking at her door, took her babies, left her sore. But Brenda's heart, it ain't for sale. She'll fight back, she will prevail. Oh, Brenda, keep on rising high through the tears, under troubled sky. Life ain't easy, the road's so rough, but love is stronger, love's enough. Empty rooms, memories linger there, echoes of laughter, whispers of care. She plants hope in each day's light. In the darkest hours, she finds her fight. Neighbors pass, they cast their glance. Whispers say she don't stand a chance. But Brenda's dreams, they never fade. In her eyes, the dawn's parade. Sun will shine through clouds and rain. She'll mend the broken, salve the pain. For every loss, there's a new gain. Through every downfall, she'll remain. Sun will shine through clouds and rain. She'll mend the broken, salve the pain. For every loss, there's a new gain. Through every downfall, she'll remain. Sun will shine through clouds and rain. She'll mend the broken, salve the pain. For every loss, there's a new gain. Through every downfall, she'll remain. Sitting by the window pane, lost her husband, lost her name. Government's hands, they took
Here we go. All right, hey everybody, how's it going? Beautiful Friday over here. I don't know, I heard there's some bad weather up north and northeast and all. I went to the beach today, guys. Don't mean to rub it in, but it was close to 70 degrees. I was out there with my shorts. I got my short shorts. All right, so yeah, I was kind of going through because In my case, I got certain things that it just year by year by year by year, this is what happened. Okay, some people will have a dependency case and have no criminal case whatsoever. Okay, my friend Pam is like that. But with mine, it's like one piled on top of the other throughout this whole time that they've had my children. In fact, I didn't have any criminal record whatsoever before my children were taken or before I moved to Dixie County, Florida. So I was kind of looking over because y'all know my story about my kids being taken in April 4th, 2016, when my husband was running for sheriff against the local corrupt sheriff, as we were told by the community, because we had no idea. We hadn't even lived there a year yet. But fast forward, when my rights were terminated and all this, it was January 2018. In May of 2019, I was invited to go see my daughter in the foster placement where she was in Charlotte County, Florida. And with this case, it's very, even though this is not a dependency case and this is a criminal case, there's a lot that I've learned where the judge is responsible for harm coming to my daughter, Sage. This didn't have anything to do with Chris, but I know he was questioned when me and my daughter ended up missing. And at first, from this particular foster placement in Punta Gorda, apparently that's been a foster placement for a lot of different children for a while. They've had a history of having children run away from this home. Another girl, and in fact, I had talked to another girl because all these people's names were coming up in the discovery, well, for my Charlotte County case. And I had their numbers and everything. I called her, and she said she had no idea where Sage was. She doesn't live there anymore, whatever. But she was what you call a runner. Okay, she's this side. I think as far as my my Sage goes, I don't think she would try to run away from a situation because she wouldn't know what to do. But I know when I saw her, she's like, Mom, I have my bags packed. I'm ready to go. She's been waiting on me for a while. She's got autism, or what you might call Angelman syndrome, where it's very similar to autism. And it's very mild case, okay? Everything was blown out of proportion, of course, with her the level of her delays. I mean, at first they were saying, oh, the kids have, both of them have delays, and no one, I don't recognize their delays and all this. Okay. Then when they realized my son started making straight A's in school, I guess they threw away that idea. But the fact is that if, as far as I understand it, I mean, the kids are appointed guardian ad litem attorney, okay? But that's like the main attorney that handles blah, 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 all the guardianship stuff. The person, an attorney needs to be assigned to a child, maybe through the guardian ad litem, whatever, but the judge needs to, and well, this would happen with what I found out, okay? And I don't know, maybe you guys can back me up on this one, but if a child has delays, they have to get they have to give them attorney. And the attorney that my daughter ended up being appointed to my daughter, her name is Dana Taylor. And I'm kind of tracked down all the people that were involved with the TPR and all this stuff, because it's very interesting to know. My court-appointed officer was from Regional Conflict Council. And if you start noticing this Regional Conflict Council, with their emails usually end up with my Florida, just like it would for Department of Human Services, FL, blah, 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 meaning Florida. So they go from representing parents to representing the Department of Children and Families. I seen it happen with someone named Rachel Chatsey. She was the DCF attorney throughout our entire case. But then when I'm looking up, in the last couple of years, she's now representing parents. That seems strange to me. The lady that represented me was Jean Conway. She passed away a couple years ago. And come to find out, all these other people that used to represent Chris or my daughter Sage all ended up in this regional council in Lake City. But now all of a sudden, Dana Taylor, she's not there. Nobody knows where she's at. Of course, Jean Conway passed. And then Heidi Kemp. Heidi Kemp was supposed to be higher up in the regional council over there. And now she's gone. Now she's the one that told me in regards to this, at the time was CPS supervisor. From Devereaux, if anybody's heard of Devereaux, they go and hide behind other names like Partnership for Strong Families, or if you check into your paperwork or see if somebody's calling you, say, oh, they're calling from Devereaux, what's this? Because what we're finding out is Devereaux is responsible for abusing and a lot of children in Pennsylvania, Texas, Georgia, Florida, California. If I'm missing anything else, let me know, because I want to know what's going on with this Devereaux, because it seems to be child trafficking and child abuse and children being thrown into these institutions that are not helping children with delays. Okay, they really like to focus on these children with delays, okay, because they can get more money off of them. And again, you guys, it's not about this or that or the other thing. Everybody's sad story. I know everybody's got a sad story, okay? But the fact is who's responsible for making this sad situation is the judge that was on your dependency case. So I say that's where we have to focus on, because the CPS worker can't do anything unless the judge agrees to do this or orders it or whatever. They're just following the direction of these judges. I think it's, look at that, I spilled coffee on myself. See, that's why I can't get on right away either. I said, okay, I'm going to go down the next floor and get the fucking coffee. And then, sorry about my language, but this is me. This is me. I make no apologies. This is me. All right. So the reason I'm down here in Florida, which God forbid, I told myself I would never come here again, but it's like that movie. They keep dragging me back in. But of course, my husband's incarcerated, which happens to be about a half hour away from Panama City Beach. So I decided to go down there and take some pictures. Like I said, it's a beautiful day, but I also have people coming at me with possibly being able to help get my husband into or out of the situation that he's in right now. I mean, it's a very strange situation when you have a judge that initially was on your dependency case for a year. This is what happened in my case, okay? And then, the originally case happened in 2016. Rights were terminated in January 2018. We moved to Louisiana, 2018 as well. So what happens next? We're just kind of trying to live our life, get through it, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, that whole thing happened with me and Sage. I ended up being incarcerated for that, even though my daughter reported abuse. And we're talking about SA. The reports coming out of the neuropsychologist's report that she made like a month and a half before my rights were terminated, saying that my daughter needs to be in contact with me for her emotional, behavioral, and social well-being, and that this needs to get to the judge ASAP, although her name was never brought up at the trial. And I never seen this piece of paper from the Dixie County dependency case until I was arrested after my rights were terminated. And I would have had no idea about the neuropsychological evaluation, because I would have said, well, so I started sending things off from jail. I started sending things off because I already appealed it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. And I'm thinking, wow, this is stuff that was omitted from the trial. So I thought, well, surely enough that somebody's going to see this and I'm going to get my kids back now. But no, that didn't happen. Sorry to say. And so, like I say, okay, so we doing everything we can like anybody else, okay, throughout all these years, going on 9 years this April. And so within those 9 years, or 8 by the time my husband gets arrested while we're living in Louisiana, and I get a knock on the door a month before he was arrested with an officer asking about a cartoon, like, oh, here, I was just coming over to shoot the shit or something. And by the way, I was wondering about that whatever you're posting on TikTok, okay? And doesn't let them know it's not real, it's entertainment. I mean, a lot of people use YouTube as a broadcasting network, okay? Maybe some people are reporting on the news. Maybe somebody wants to make a funny video. Maybe somebody wants to do this or that. Hello, it's freedom of speech under entertainment. And it's also, when you're stopped from doing these things, it's censorship. Okay, so Trump, this is what I'm looking for, a Trump bump from you. Okay, you said you're going to stop all the censorship, and I need it to stop, and I need my husband to be released out of prison on this ridiculous charge, okay? Because my husband had no history of no violence throughout his entire life, was a law enforcement specialist in the Air Force. I mean, he's a private investigator for many years. So doesn't it show a pattern of people that are successful, but maybe they have a different opinion than you? Maybe they have different ideas of how things should be run, and they criticize maybe, the FBI or Department of Justice throughout all these different years. And I think that's what then puts you on some type of radar, because I know these fusion exchange bulletins that they put on people, they come out of fusion exchange centers. If you Google that, people, they look for people that are very religious. If you've ever collected money for a charity, if you're very political, or if you take notes, they put you on a category of being a terrorist. They don't care that you homeschooled doctors and that your family fought for 250 years for this country. All they care about is trying to defame your character, so that when they, our name comes up, it's just like, oh, well, we can hide it in the background, and while we destroy your life and while we're sitting there breaking the law. Because what these judges are doing in these dependency cases, they are breaking federal law. Okay, you guys know the numbers and the information on that. I mean, I don't have to go through it again. But I mean, we're getting some stuff together. And that's why I say, if you guys are serious about getting these judges arrested, and you have somebody that's going to do it for free, I take advantage of it, because a lot of us have our heads scrambled, head trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, the list goes on and on. And it's difficult for us to accomplish tasks. And I know I've tried to do it. I used to be very good at it. But once I got my head split open, I had these episodes of passing out after I see my daughter in this abusive placement, and then they thrown me in jail for 2 years, followed by 3 years probation, and continually, I have this Jason Katz that used to be the CPS supervisor, stalking and harassing me, and sharing videos that my husband's putting on YouTube with Judge Jennifer Johnson. Okay. Yeah, I know who's sharing the video. It was my husband. So how are you going to, shouldn't he be the one that's in jail? Why are you sharing, that video? Are you trying to scare the judge? Because we're not. Because I believe God is in charge. Okay. I'm not in charge. Okay. God knows the truth. Okay. And we'll just leave it at that. So, I don't know. Some people might say karma, karma's a bitch, it's gonna, what goes around comes around. And there's a lot of different sayings like that. Right. So, but in any case, I can tell you that where my family, even extended family, are law-abiding citizens, outstanding members of our community. Like I said, even the family history. And the other thing about it is we never were familiar with divorce. A lot of families end up in divorce for one thing or the other. Me and my husband, we've been together. We just had our 45th anniversary of when we met. And but we've been together all this time. His mom and dad were together till death do you part. My parents were also, and even their parents before them. So, I mean, I always felt like, okay, so we're kind of like the last of the nuclear families. I stayed at home, my husband worked, and we're just trying to, just have our own little thing going on. And my husband decides to run for sheriff, and all the shit hits the fan. Okay. God forbid somebody's trying to make this country a better place or this little town a better place. Okay. Because they're not going to have it. Same person that wants to criticize the FBI for how many years? We've been on this list since at least knowing about this list since 2011. I do have copies of it. I flash it up in front of you. God forbid I don't want to, because it's a law enforcement sensitive bulletin. Whoever provided to me committed a felony. Okay. But they did it. And that's the way it goes. And I was kind of looking over some of my writings when I was in Charlotte County Jail for trying to rescue my daughter out of a certain situation. But so as I see, this was going to I was making the judge aware. I was making the that was involved with my my case there on the kidnapping charge. And I also wrote because Judge William Slaughter, he was the judge who I had no idea. He was a retired judge that they brought in for a 2-day trial for the dependency case, and had no idea about our case at all. Throwed him in there, just whatever was presented before him as I've talked to him afterwards. And he said, from what I was presented, this is why I made that determination. So somebody failed if that judge is not getting the information that he needed. So I had his number. I freaking was calling him and everything. It's like I had his house number. He never felt that I was a threat to him. I had questions. I lost my children, and he was always very polite to me. So yeah, I talked to the, and that's why I'm wondering. Once I found out about that psychological evaluation, don't you think things should have changed? And at least, by the very least, you could have let my daughter go. What about let her go now that she's 21? You think you might want to, hey, Danielle. Hey, Tamil. We were a little bit late. Yeah. Are you supposed to be going on, Danielle? Because there was nobody available. I was supposed to be coming on at 3, and then nobody was there. They're having some bad weather in Maine, and that's why I'm running late. Not my fault. Come on, people. Danielle was busy. She didn't have time to do it. Come on. Don't put it all on Danielle. She can't do it all. Just kidding. Yeah. All right. Anyways, so if you guys got anything going on, if you want to come in, Danielle, come on in and tell us about what's going on with your day. Okay, so this is my letter to Judge Slaughter. If you recall the case, I'm mentioning the dependency case, was a trial 2 days in December of 2017. This is the one I wrote in 2019 when I was in Charlotte County Jail. It was an unfavorable decision, and our rights were terminated. I've discovered some factual information that was left out of the trial only because the information I obtained recently after being incarcerated in Charlotte County when attempting to rescue my daughter, Sage Cambrum. I understand you cannot be involved in my current case, which was 19-869 CF. I've been charged with kidnapping, and I've been in jail on this charge for 6 months. This information is detrimental to the children's well-being, and I am no longer represented by an attorney on this case. So I am hesitant to reveal this information until I'm appointed a lawyer. See, at that time, I was like, I didn't know. I got the information. I think, I don't know what happened, but halfway through, I know when I had signed the plea, and then I was like, oh, hold up, maybe I shouldn't have signed the plea. And I was trying to talk to some other inmates. They were saying, Brenda, you shouldn't have signed that plea. But then I withdrew my plea, and then I changed my mind again. The thing is that during that time that I was being sentenced, I was locked down and not allowed to talk to my family at all. Like, oh, you got in trouble for some bull crap. And now you guess what? You're going to be going to a trial. You're going to go to sentencing. Yet, no, I didn't have a trial in that case. I pled out, okay? But in any case, I couldn't get any advice from my family unless it was through snail mail. So how is that going to help me? You think for certain situations, even if you're in a lockdown status, they would let you talk to your family about what the hell is going on? Well, it didn't happen there. So that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes your dependency case may lead to other cases, criminal cases. And again, that's what's happening so many years later with my husband, because it doesn't have to do with the same judge. Yes, it does. So the same judge that was involved with initially taking my children and not allowing me to have a trial, in regards to keeping custody of my children, I had no trial. I was never allowed to cross-examine the caseworkers or anything like that. And all that is a crime, okay? And so that's what I want to do. I want to get everybody back and just let them know we're excited about being able to get through to so many different leaders that are starting to step up, especially, is like briefly mentioned a lot of times when I'm watching news about Trump and things like that. So I'm just hoping, because I was watching this stupid P. Diddy thing today, and that's some messed up stuff. Because you guys realize what's going on with, a lot of times, do you ever hear when a senator gets got in trouble for, say, messing around with a underage girl or something like this, and then they would call them a prostitute? Are they prostitutes, or is that what Department of Children and Families made them do or made them be? So in most situations, I would say that is the case. Nobody wants to have that life, I wouldn't think. Unless you're a sicko like P. Diddy, was Jeffrey Epstein. What's going on with that? That's where all our American children might be. It's kind of people would say, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist," blah blah blah. Okay, they don't have their kids taken away. Okay, they can say whatever they want. Yeah, if you lived it, you know it, and it's unlawful what's going on with the children. So I don't know. I guess I haven't done a show in a while, and like I say, we were getting some people together in regards to getting anything we can any parents we can across the United States. Okay, if you know somebody like say Pennsylvania, or you're living in Florida and you know a lot of other people, we want as many parents to step up and do this and do what we can. I mean, these judges need to be removed. They need to be imprisoned. I mean, if this was medieval times, do you think these judges that are pedophiles, do you think they would have got the death penalty? Oh, they definitely would have. I mean, just look up in history what happened to pedophiles of any sorts. But in any case, I'm tired, guys. All right, because it's just like a pain in the butt. It seems like, sometimes you get motivated to do things, and then other times it's like, well, who is this? Who's coming in? Come on in. Somebody help me out here. Are we going to end it because we got to do somebody else's show now? Is that what's happening? I pretty much think I'm.
No, you got plenty of time. Boss says you're fine.
Well, come on, somebody help me out.
What do you need?
I mean, I need somebody else to talk besides me.
What do you got? A nice hotel room?
Well, yeah, it's very nice.
So my mom just came here and she was telling me, she says, you know what? We really should tone down our rhetoric the way that we are, because with everybody hating Trump and everything, we need to lead the way of toning down a little bit how aggressive we are towards these people. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, Trump doesn't back down from being aggressive, right?
Well, that's his job.
Yeah, but how do you I'm just wondering, how do you think we're going to get noticed? I mean, whatever we're doing, we're not really getting noticed, like noticed, right? So what would be the other choice to do? Like,
well, I think she's going about
It's okay to stand up for what you believe in, but don't be overly aggressive or swear or carry on the way the Democrats are carrying on, looking like idiots.
yeah,
that's what she doesn't want us to look like, is like them Democrats. She staunch hates them Democrats.
It's true, because I was watching some of that where they have their little signs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
She said, what did you say about the women today? What'd you say, that the women said they were pretending they were shooting people or something?
Yeah, they were out to fight. Yeah, jumping around like a bunch of idiots. Yeah.
She sounds like my mother-in-law. That's funny. That's just the way she said that. That's awesome.
Well,
Right?
listen, we used to have a saying for that. If you feel froggy, jump.
Well,
Go ahead, jump.
I started watching
I
something.
dare you.
It was like something about Pelosi was getting excited. I didn't even get to see that part.
But she looks stupid. Absolutely stupid. I wanted to punch her in the face, but I'm not that type of person. She kept chewing her teeth the whole time, and then about every 20 seconds, she'd sit up in their chair like she was sliding down, and then she'd be looking on her phone. The whole time they were talking about that poor black guy having brain cancer. And they kept showing her. She looked like an idiot.
So she doesn't want us looking like idiots.
That was bad.
Listen, I'm going to put it to you real clear. And this is constitutionally clear.
Right.
We do not give room to traitors, nor do we give them aiding or abetting. It's a crime to aid and abet a federal fugitive for acts of treason and sedition. Why should we be quiet when they are going completely against our Constitution? They're making a profit off it.
I don't say be quiet at all. Make them look like idiots. Come out with it.
Oh, well, there's
don't say,
but don't say these effing people or something like that.
Right.
Listen.
Say them, just call them all idiots.
Yeah.
Baboons, anything. As long as it's not
words have power, and maybe we need to have a different selection of words. But I believe the empowerment of the words, because certain words are overused in our English language, especially with profanity, when it's appropriate to actually use it. So when you do hear somebody use it, it's so bad out of context or so overused because so many people are quick to use those, that we need to articulate it in a way that you're right, those things don't have power anymore. I will agree with you of what you're saying instead of just this and that. I believe, but it's from that perspective of we've overused or words, the fact that words have power, that it's been overused and not used in the right context.
Right.
Therefore, maybe, yes, a different approach as far as those. But like I said, as far as landing them every once in a while to kind of get your point or to get the point of the emotional part of this.
That's fine. Repetitive use and using that in your vocabulary, I think, is what she's getting at. The constant F this, F that, F this, F that.
Because they look stupid when they do it.
I was doing a little bit of that.
You guys are doing great. And
really?
you look good. And seriously, you look more intelligent than they do. They are just right off the chart. We just need to let them go right off the chart.
Let them hang themselves.
Yes, let them hang themselves. They're definitely doing it.
Give them enough rope, and every time they will hang themselves. And
every now and then, if we have to push them, push them.
Well, now that's the same thing we've told a lot of parents on here too. When you get involved with CPS, you're in basically collecting evidence mode from your very first encounter. And if you do it properly, it's not hard to prove in the right court of law that constitutional rights have been violated. And that's been the concept of their very database. In every state is the fact that the Constitution doesn't mean shit. And the root of the problem is several different issues. One, is it politicians? Two, does it run much deeper into a deeper methodology that even Darren and I have talked about, that maybe it runs deeper than that with less people? There's many positions that most people don't even realize that are out there that we'll say give it the stamp of approval, whether it's politicians or certain other groups that it must go through, that maybe those are corrupt. It's not all the politicians, because they're doing their due diligence. They're getting the thumbs up that this is okay with their policies, procedures, and laws being unconstitutional. I think we have to look at it deeper than just elected and appointed officials. These are puppets. I think we're going to have to look at the root of the system. And I don't think the corruption has started, let's put it this way. I don't think it started from the top down. I believe it came from the bottom up. I believe it's the state governments that are the most corrupt, more than the federal government. And this is seen through the unconstitutionality of several different things. Even in cases to where they're just going to railroad you or threaten you, or even if you attempt, which if you do have constitutional rights violations, even how some of this stuff started, the lower court or the state court has no jurisdiction on subject matter, because they can't deal with constitutional rights issues. And that's one thing these judges, attorneys, and everything else, you can say it in the courtrooms, my rights were violated, and even articulate how it was violated, and they just breeze over it. But according to the rules of the court, which Darren can fully explain, for those, a judge is obligated to their oath and anything else to recognize when they've lost jurisdiction, and they're not doing it.
I agree 100%. They're stupid.
No.
They all want power. They all want power.
They all don't want just power. They want something more than power, because when you look at something on different, these are low-level people. These are low-level people that change it for paper. Has nothing to do with power. The most powerful people out there are not always the richest people. It's being in the right place of influence with over enough people that have money, resources, and everything else, and being able to blackmail them or do this or that. I mean, that's the deeper cause of Epstein Island is why isn't the politician list being released? Even the same thing with Diddy. Where's the politicians? Where's the influencer? Where's the whole fucking list when it comes down to it? Because then it comes down to where are those people? Because funny, certain people as actors and everything got released, but they hit all the politicians. Even though Diddy and all the rest of them said CPS supplied the kids in California, what happened there? It was brushed under the rug and made it about a movie star. It's while they still move the kids.
Yeah.
Where's the CPS workers that provided those kids to Diddy? Are they under arrest? Where's the story on that?
And see, that's what we need to be asking every day.
You're being mass distracted is what it is. They don't want the facts. Propaganda is still legal in the United States per executive order under Obama.
Obama, that's where.
Well, you guys are doing great, so that isn't the problem.
Oh,
It's just
both
a few
Clinton
people
and
have
Obama,
strayed away from being
yeah,
a good Republican.
but you know what else goes hand in hand? They both gave extra grants and subsidies to Department of Children and Family Services to incentivize and give them a bonus program and even more money to funnel, because not all of them, even it's not just the CPS workers. You got to remember who's running these CAC centers, child advocacy centers. Those are privately owned 501Cs, most of them.
This is what I'm saying, man. This thing is bigger than what people understand. This is why this thing is so hard to take down. This thing is running our economy, for Christ's sakes. These kids, stealing these kids is the baseline of our economy and how it's shaped and how it's used. Because what else are they going to do? This is real money. This is creating real money for all kinds of different people, for different groups, for different everything. This is real dollars that are coming into people's hands. What other commodity does the United States have other than kids that produces just as much money for our country?
Nothing. Prisons.
Well, once again, they're all hand in hand. What if over half your prisons? I mean, let's put it this way: what if you have a whole courthouse that has things that are completely unconstitutional, to where everybody, before you walk in the front door, your constitutional rights are violated when judges take and sign something saying violating your constitutional rights? Hey, you can't bring certain evidence in the courtroom. Hey, you can't have digital stuff in the courtroom per the judge. They just don't like it. So so what if my evidence is on those things? I have to have special permission from the judge, is what they're saying, to allow some of these things in a lot of courthouses. And people really need to look at their courthouses on some of their policies and procedures for your courthouses. Because
what violation of the free speech do they take away from you when they take away your recording devices when you walk into these buildings?
What if you've got evidence on there in the middle of the case and somebody commits perjury? And guess what? Yes, you can enter that new evidence. Why? They just committed perjury. We didn't know they were going to commit perjury.
Yeah.
If you had that there, you could enter it as evidence in your case and have all of your evidence, whether you needed it or not.
Right, but that you would have to move to stand for an evidentiary hearing and all that stuff. So having it at that moment wouldn't be such. It's more so a constitutional violation that they're taking away your right to freedom of speech and your right to, especially if you're into journalism.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just wondering, what about did any of you had to deal with them putting like security measures on you when you came into the court building, that you had to be escorted by law enforcement? I mean, that's what happened with my husband. He had to be escorted by the same sheriff department that he was running against their boss. So, anytime.
And how is that not conflict of interest?
Yeah, that's what.
How does that not make him look like that just gave him the appearance of being,
because that was put on him for not the first hearing for the kids, but like the month later when we went, and they put that security measure on during that case. So I thought we were assuming, and even the criminal attorneys that appointed to us thought that was just for the dependency case, that he had to call up beforehand and say, oh yeah, I'm going to be there, and wait for the escort. Well, I don't know. It's just messed up because they say, how is that going to look to anyone? Oh, what? You have a security measure on? What's going on there? You know.
LB in the comments was quoting 28 U.S. Code subsection 1441, talking about defendants able to move cases from state courts to federal district courts. That's civil, though. One thing you need to understand about that is you have to exhaust to use that particular code is exhaust always through the state, and then saying you're not getting satisfaction through the state, which is where Rooker versus Feldman comes up, says, listen, we have that authority to do those things. You can't interrupt in those cases. Now, if all your appeals and everything and nothing's getting done and you feel that they're not following something, yes, you have the ability to have a federal court, civil court take and review those things. But when you've got constitutional rights violation, it's not a change from this to that. It's a fact that state courts do not have the authority, do not have the authorization or the jurisdiction to even hear anything on constitutional rights violations. It's an automatic change to federal court when you cry, federal, my constitutional rights were violated, and can articulate it right there and on the record. That judge has lost jurisdiction. They should know about it, and they should stop saying we can go no further. I can't even write a fucking order from here forward because I don't have jurisdiction since you brought it up in the case. In other words, they can't restrain you. They can't take your kids from you. They can't. If you're in that hearing and you change jurisdictions, their power's gone. It has to go to federal court. They can't do shit. So in that interim,
But why is it not happening?
but it's not happening. Your judges are committing a grievous violation to their oath instead of
if they deny your challenge of jurisdiction, it's an automatic dismissal of case. Automatic, but it doesn't happen. Doesn't happen.
Does not happen.
So what do we do about that?
Well, my opinion, find your constitutional rights violations, tell them to fuck off, and as you're in the interim, because it's easy for them to manipulate when you're in the middle of a fucking case to say change jurisdiction. Trust me, they've threatened people with revoking bail. They've threatened people with revoking their case or restricting even more stuff. That's a crime. That's a federal crime to do that. Notification is all you need, and they have to stop. And then I think you have what, Darren? Is it up to 30 days to file your federal case after notification?
Yeah.
So you have up to 30 days, which means you can notify them, walk out of that courthouse. If the courthouse at the federal is still open, you can go over there and file your federal change of jurisdiction for them all fucking day long, and there ain't a fucking thing they can do about it. And if they do anything else,
And then they just deny it.
you go straight to that judge and they're arrested, or he finds them in contempt and warns them.
Well, that's the other thing. The bailiffs should come over there and arrest that judge right away if they deny
there you
it.
go. That's what your deputy sheriff is actually in the courtroom
But
for.
it doesn't happen.
That anybody,
Doesn't
including the judge, yourself, or the district attorney, or CPS, any of them, if he hears anything, that they have admitted to committing a federal crime, constitutional crime, even the judge, they're supposed to be trained that well. That deputy has and is placed there for that reason as your constitutionally elected sheriff and his deputies to take and watch over that court. And when he hears, and he has special training for it, which they're not giving those bailiffs, to arrest that judge as soon as he hears Fourth Amendment violation, and that judge doesn't stop, guess who has the authority to arrest him right then and there?
Yeah, but they don't
Are they
do it.
trained? Are they doing it? You find me the last time anywhere in the United States that a fucking deputy took and arrested a judge or magistrate for constitutional rights violations
Right.
when they heard it right for themselves.
They don't do it.
Go ahead and find a judge and a bailiff that aren't buddy and hanging out with each other, going fishing on weekends and everything else. That's never going to happen. They're all sitting there coo-hooing and hee-hawing over at the bench when they're coming up with the cases and all
They
of that
got
stuff.
football boards in the whole fucking 9 yards that are going on up the
Of
courthouse,
course they do.
baby.
Yep.
Hey,
Yes, they
Alabama's
do.
playing so-and-so. We got a board going. You going to buy a space? Buy a square? Judges
I think it's more like Alabama's playing this weekend, Judge. You want to come to my box seats and sit in the box with me and watch this football game? I think is more like it.
That's fun.
Because of that.
That's
All right,
funny
love
with
you.
our
Thanks.
Nice to see
Oh,
you
thanks
guys.
for joining us.
You're
All
doing
right,
great.
thank you. But
All right,
what was
love
I
you.
gonna say? I can't even remember now.
This is a multi-facade problem, a very complex
Power of my
problem held
mom.
up by many sticks.
Should make you forget about everything.
No, I do remember but now because when we had our TPR hearing for 2 days, okay, and when our rights were actually terminated, the bailiff came up to us and said, "I can't believe your rights were terminated because they've been through it and realized that they brought no evidence, allegations that they said, and being the history of me and Chris."
Watch out on your way out.
Yeah, they're like, well, I can't believe it. Yeah.
Well, the other big thing that's happening, and I know Darren and I have discussed this, is having criminal charges in civil court, but not having a jury. A criminal charge is still a criminal charge, and you still have a right to a jury for a criminal charge. If no jury was given, especially with the stuff they're doing, oh, well, it's a civil classification. That don't mean shit. If it's a criminal classification they're seeking, you have a right to a jury. And there's the other one that is not happening across this nation, which even SEC Jarsky specifically attacks them and turns around and says, if the judge has this ability to do all these things, or or has that power, which when they go from an administrative judge to a hearing judge and sit on that bench in that thing of authority, and they've changed from an administrative to the other, the rules of law apply, and they're not. The idea of all these state courts is to ease the flow of traffic through federal courts, and they're not doing it. The higher courts have delegated some powers or some authorities under statutes and codes, basically to regulate. The states are to regulate commerce, business, government officials, to make sure they're doing. But there's no constitutional audit. The first thing before you enter the courtroom, before you even do that, is the judge is supposed to review the file. And if there's any constitutional rights violation, they're supposed to be specifically trained to look for them on the other side, but they don't, because they're all in it together, because they all profit from it. Because as soon as they take your kids, then you go through the classes, and then they make money from the CAC centers and some of their other buddies. Then they get you over in child support court, and then they try to hose you for that, even though it's found that it's unconstitutional because of separation of powers. It's a big issue. But the issue is they're not going to shut it down until enough people get a voice in there saying, this is now not just a one person thing.
Yeah.
What they're looking for is RICO. They want to see the judge connected with this and this and this and that. And well, they're benefiting from it. So every judgment they have, and they get the child support, part of that administrative fee goes right to their damn retirement fund. That's not a conflict of interest. But once again, everybody's talking about it. And once again, that's the question I think we're going to ask is, why? How is this still going on? If it's unconstitutional, why aren't you enforcing it and shutting it down in all 50 states? What the state is supposed to do is just make sure you're making the agreed upon, when they mediate between you and your ex-wife, child support payments. But no, the state has its own little formula and the whole 9 yards. That's something that's a private matter. But once you get a marriage license and you include the state in your marriage, when you got married, which is not necessary for you to be considered married, because it's under your religious First Amendment right to be married without registering with the government. Why? Because they turned a right or a privilege into what? A license. What does it say about that? That's illegal and unconstitutional, and you may ignore it and still go on and disregard it. But they're enforcing it. Well, you're not married because you're not legally married. Under whose terminology? Who says I have to register under something that's considered an act of God or under God's law?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. God's the law.
So but once again, who needs to make, we need to make the argument in the court and get a Supreme Court decision to where people can hold them accountable to this. But to be honest, all these judges and magistrates at state level, good or bad, the way it's set up and the system's designed, it needs to be cleared out. It's the only way it's going to happen. And not Supreme Court justices from the state coming down enforcing the same thing. We need it all shut down, and we need re-education systems. And then the second question is if families have a constitutional right to be together, then technically the states do not have the authority over the family because it's a federal thing then. And if so, why is the state dealing with something that is constitutionally protected, let alone they have the power to divide something that is constitutionally protected?
Is the right to have a family constitutionally protected, or is the right to have kids constitutionally protected, or where does that
A
lie?
lot of that came under the First Amendment. There was a lot of arguments, and there's some. I think Benny's got some case law on some of that stuff there that still stands, and several other decisions. There's even stuff that's not even in our digital things that goes back to the early 1900s into the 1800s, that is still on the books that talks about family. I mean, there certain states had certain laws in place that would state laws for people that interfered with marriages that could be held. Um, interference with marriage was actually a
Well,
charge for your ex if they were running around with somebody, as well as the person that disintegrated your marriage, that they ran off with it.
no, adultery is still a crime in the
Yeah.
state of Maine. Adultery should be a crime. Adultery should be a crime. Absolutely, it should be. But what I'm getting at here is this: is where the reason that we came over from England. One of the biggest reasons was the fact that you were the it's the word I'm looking for. The nobles had rights to your wife
Yeah.
if you got married the first night of your marriage because they would try to breed your stock out. They would try to breed your families out. So this is one of the biggest reasons that we came over to this country was to get away from the fact that so you could start your own life and your own family without worrying about them having to come and breed
Mhm.
you out. Like we don't talk about that enough, but that was one of, I mean, everybody talks about, 1776 and what was it all about? It was all about the fact that you didn't stand a chance of survival, your family lineage, any of that stuff didn't matter to you in those days over there. That's why we came over
That
here.
was actually the stuff they don't want to
Because
talk
people
about.
had
They
enough
say,
of
oh, it
that.
was taxation about representation. No, they didn't want their wives raped. That's exactly what it was. That nobleman attitude came over
Yeah.
with them, with a lot of them that were very wealthy investors, Rothschilds, several different ones. You got to remember, half these people, they had their stuff. They had their hands in everything from slave trade to trade and everything. They were the overseers of the tax collections and all these other things. They had a vested interest both sides. I mean, the French did the same thing
It's
for
almost like
us.
we're reverting. It's almost like we're going back to old England, and that's where we're going back. We're going, we're going backwards
Going
to
back
those
to
those values and
slavery.
those things. Like,
Um,
right.
yeah.
It's the reverting of everything. You open your mouth, you speak out against anybody, you're going to jail. Look at Chris. What did Chris do? Chris didn't do a damn thing. He did nothing. He did nothing more than what the Constitution states that he could have done. Again, to speak out against a illegitimate judge. Like, that's all he did. And now the guy is sitting in jail for 15 years. There's not even pedophiles that are in jail for 15 years.
Out in 5 months.
This is a person that served his country. This is a person that did his time in the United States Air Force. This is a person that, was trying to be a sheriff. This is a person that had a record that was pretty impeccable to be the person that he was, and they still put his ass in jail for 15 years for just speaking out against a judge that was wrong. Where's all these people that you see on the news, like, oh, blah, 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 rah, rah, chiscoon, blah. I mean, this is probably a no-brainer. Probably when it happened, Brenda, you guys probably thought this would be easy. No one's going to allow this to happen, this outrage with this. He didn't do anything. He made a fucking video.
That's what I'm wondering, like, all the people that are supporting that guy that, what is that? Luigi or whatever the fuck?
Yeah, the dude that shot the health insurance
I'm like,
guy.
where's Christmas fans?
Yeah.
I mean, Darren's one.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's what I think most people, either we become too pacified, or there's those that are saying, listen, let's try every way we possibly can without going to violence, such as our courts and this and that. But eventually it's going to come to a head that eventually it's going to end. And if it doesn't change, you're going to look at violence. because you're taking fucking people.
If Chris was anything but white, do you think he's in the same situation
Yeah.
that he is?
Oh, they don't give a shit about the color
you?
of your skin. I mean, you go back even to the point when they did Martin Luther King and everything else, and after they, confirmed things are coming out, CIA fucking assassinated him, and then they defunded all those cities to where they took away the private black business owner, and then they just destroyed those cities. One of them, Detroit. Another one, Gary, Indiana. St. Louis, Missouri. Memphis, Tennessee. They took away their money and infrastructure, so that would never happen again.
Well, doesn't it seem like the white males are more that they're breeding them into like homegrown terrorists? They would say. I mean, they're the ones that are causing like these mass shootings and stuff that goes off across the country. Well, I mean, they're the product most likely. Like look at all the school shootings. I mean,
you want school shootings? I can go back on that one because it all goes back to a small group of psychologists that did psychedelic drugs as treatments on these kids at a very young age, and basically changed their brain chemistry with the same medicine they were all on. And well, look what happened.
CIA, wasn't it?
Well, that's the ones that were even real.
Listen,
let's go with
put
that.
it this way. You know who created Charles Manson? CIA, Air Force Base.
Yeah, we did.
Everything else.
MK Ultra. It's called MK Ultra. And anyway, if anybody on here is an MK Ultra survivor, please get in touch with me because I can help you.
I mean,
that's
the experiments they did at that Air Force Base were so illegal, unconstitutional. I mean, they're
still going on.
Yeah, blue light over red light. What it does to the effects of the brain. LEDs went through a lot of that technology because I was actually one of the first 5 people in the United States certified for LED technology straight from the manufacturer.
I always knew you were a test case of something.
So one of those things that we had to deal with was light because one of the things with the fluorescence that was happening, and this is how much it goes bad in offices, especially the old fat T12s, they would strobe. And that strobe was done at a certain frequency to fuck with your brain chemistry. And it was.
Well, don't you remember Joe versus the volcano?
Well, yeah,
see that?
Seen that
brain clouds. Brain clouds.
I mean, but then they switched over to this technology and that technology. And then you have another thing to where it comes through to where this was nationwide too. This was kind of funny. The LEDs out on your light post where they would color shift. And it used to be a bright white light. Now it's like purple. You'll see this on LEDs.
What is that purple? What is that purple that you see out there?
It's a frequency shift in the LED driver. See, think of LEDs as the old-fashioned fluorescence. We used to have a ballast. Well, the ballast is now replaced with a digital driver. And then it sends out a very low voltage current into LEDs, which are light emitting diodes. We kind of tripped on light emitting diodes. We actually lit up a diode one time on a board, and all of a sudden it started to glow, and people started, it's going to blow up. No, it just emits light when you put energy through it. That's interesting. So we stumbled upon that discovery within the computer thing, and then we began to play with the color spectrum. That's why you have multiple colors throughout there. And the concept is in an office space, one of the things you want to mimic is natural sunlight, which is let me see if I can remember this, 5250 Kelvin is the color temperature. Most indoor places, offices, it's that to simulate the thing. So because you're away from all the sunlight and nothing but these lights, they modify it to where they go for 5,000 Kelvin temperature as close as they can to sunlight. Because after that, it begins to shift blue. Okay, the color spectrum. You can look in this in the frequency of the color spectrum. White, then it goes to blue, and then so on and so forth. And then the color.
Can I just interrupt? Because I'm growing. I'm trying to grow shiitake mushrooms, and I got those lights. They're red, blue, and white. I mean, and I'm really not having much luck. This has been going on for 2 months. I don't see anything growing yet, but I love the lights.
One thing with some of the different technologies is LEDs emit a constant, and the frequency the interim in between is so fast because technically it flashes. really fast. And with fluorescence and some of those others, the cycle is more of this, so you can visually see it. There are some things that we see or we don't see with the naked eye that's within our spectrum of what we see, and some things that we don't. But a lot of this has been used and studied to manipulate people. This is why they went from the tube television to you went to plasma. Plasma was a big thing because they get more colors out of it and more vibrant colors. Now they switched every TV over to an LED because that can blink so fast, but they can put subliminal shit in that that you can watch as it flashes. It goes in because your brain fills in your mind. You don't really see everything. As you get older, your mind kind of fills in the blanks. So if something's there, you look and you have a blank space that you really didn't pay much attention to, your brain's going to fill it in. In other words, I could look at Brenda's eyes, and because I've seen Brenda enough or something, I could picture the rest of her face because it's how your brain works. But you can be suggestive on that subliminal level of what you see and what it fills in and what it doesn't. So there's a lot in that, and that's a lot of the MK Ultra was research into frequency, light, sound, and how those had the effects on the brains, and then how to manipulate them using many different methods such as electrolysis, psychotherapy, different other kinds of medicines, treatment, even extreme trauma, what makes them more susceptible. And the one thing that makes people more susceptible in those studies that a lot of people haven't connected with CPS yet is traumatizing people. When you traumatize somebody, it's almost like a hard reboot. And they have to reevaluate everything in them, and then they tend to cling to that new support structure. So what CPS does is comes in and destroys what your family has done, and then puts them in these CAC centers and reprograms them with all these different programs and everything, and including you as a parent, and tries to reprogram you to get to their way.
Yeah, put you in parenting classes, right? Those parenting classes.
But once again, all of this is supposed to be a voluntary, but it's not. You're being forced into it. Yeah. If it's kind of like the man selling AT&T, Spectrum, whatever it is, comes knocking around your fucking door. Used to be the newspapers or the magazines or this and that. Hey, or even the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Or encyclopedias.
Jehovah's Witnesses again, come knocking on your fucking door. Hey, have you heard the fucking good news? No, goddamn it, leave me alone. And so that was a lot of soliciting. That's the only power CPS is really supposed to have. They don't have the power to go in there. Why? They haven't firsthand seen shit. That's the only way you're supposed to be in these court cases at all, is with firsthand personal knowledge. And CPS has how much to get these cases started? Fucking shit. Yeah. Shit in one hand and wish in the other.
See which one gets full first.
Shit in the fucking wish hand. I mean, that's how stupid they are. They maybe got their hands confused. They're left from their right. I don't know. Oh, look at it fill up. It's full of shit. Oh, hey, we're making money. Hey.
Right.
But once again, the only thing we're asking is, it's okay to have systems like this in certain ways. But one, follow the motherfucking Constitution. All the fucking way is all we're asking. And it's not possible for your organization anymore. You can't. Every single one of your workers are absolutely fucking corrupt, committed felonies, several felonies, and they're getting off because the state has said they have the power to do so against the Constitution. Now, you want to fight me on that? I got all the evidence there is to prove it in a court of law. And maybe, just maybe, we may see some of that here real soon. But I'm not saying nothing, Darren.
But what's funny is like you've opened up a rabbit hole with this stuff before, as you know, like every day I think I'm close to being done with what I'm doing, but then I'm finding more and more and more and more and more.
Exactly. It just goes so bad.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna do what we're doing here. It's we got one shot.
Bulletproof. But it's a chance. But at the same time, it's enough of a chance. Guess what? CPS, DCS, DSS. Make this your public notice. Your days are very, very numbered. Because once we come, we ain't coming to play. And the black flag is waving high. And if you don't know what that means, you better fuck around and find out, because you're going to find out what that black flag means. Black flag.
Black flag. Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't be saying that stuff. Jesus Almighty.
I got a 10 tag. Hey,
Mister, come
forgive
on.
me. I've had a stroke, so bite me.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Hey, there's what
we can see the
CPS
emails from that one, Gunner.
There's what it does. It tries to fucking kill you one way or another. Take everything you got, including your fucking health, your mental fucking health, your mental strength. Well, listen, when you know it's bullshit, that's something inside of you that tells you you can't quit. Why? Because I've got to. And us, especially, you're going to find out with a Gen Xer, you're fucking with my family. Not just my kids. You're now fucking with my grandkids.
Yeah.
My future generations, my lineage, my culture, my everything. When you attack me, you came after all of us. And I don't think that's a thing that they've been able to say before that we can now start to say, to where you can look at them and say, listen, and people on here, listen, you just see me. You just see this one person or these three people. Well, two of us, because Darren's got his camera off.
Oh, yeah.
But you see us. But what you don't see is the millions of us behind us. That's the thing that should scare the shit out of you. Because all it takes is us to be the tip of the spear and open that fucking wound and watch that motherfucker bleed out. Because I guarantee you, as soon as everybody smells blood, oh, it's on. Because somebody's found a way. And then it's game over. And then it all comes out. The millions of people over the years, over the decade, all of it starts coming out. And then we all begin to realize, hey, these elected and appointed motherfuckers, these cocksuckers that are supposed to be representing us, are fucking enslaving us. Why? Who do you think pays those things? Your state politicians, your local governments, your state sales tax supports kidnapping of children. Now what? And they're always going back to the state government. We're over budget. We need more money. Look, the kids are sleeping in hotels or hallways. We don't have enough foster parents. Why don't you leave the fucking kids with their fucking parents? Well,
right.
we feel there's something there. Here's the other scary fact. Did you know that every single one of these state programs, the head of each state program is an active registered Democrat in all 50 fucking states? Not a Republican one amongst all of them. You want to know why you don't vote for Democrats? There's the number one reason why. They are facilitating the kidnapping of your children. Now, do I say that Republicans are not doing that? Let me tell you something. There's probably a few out there, but every time I turn the page, it's always a fucking Democrat. Every fucking time. So you tell me which side wants to enslave and which one wants free, because the one that's sitting up there now, even though he identifies, we'll say he identifies as a Republican, because we have a two-party system, which I think completely blows ass. Personally, myself, I believe we should have done what George Washington said we should have done, which George Washington was very clear that we didn't need a two-party system or a multiple-party system. He was against parties altogether. Instead, he said we should take and be measuring and electing our elected representatives and officials should be done by the measure of the person, or the measure of the man, is what he said. In other words, their reputation, what they do in this and that, does it meet public scrutiny? Do they have a bunch of this and that? Is it a smear campaign? What is truth? In other words, there's supposed to be a filtering process before these motherfuckers even come up to even be elected, to even meet the criteria, but they don't. Look at AOC. I go from being a bartender in New York City to $174,000 a year to she's a multi-fucking millionaire. You want to explain that one?
Wow. Yeah.
Bought and fucking paid for votes. How is that fucking legal?
Yeah.
Your representatives are supposed to be neutral. You shouldn't have anybody buying them shit. They should be going back to their areas and bringing back and being in their areas and bringing stuff. When they're going to D.C., let me tell you something. If you're a senator, you know what you should be doing? Your whole fucking office should be nothing but privately owned businesses. Some of the best food from your fucking state. They're brought into your office, served every day you're in fucking office for people to come by and get a taste of the cuisine out of your fucking state. That's what it is. Things that you're proud of, things that are known just for your area. Now, when you do business, hey, my constituents, we have this. Come down here because I want to support my constituents, the people that are paying this. But instead, big corporations have moved into these areas. They are now the biggest one, not the small businesses, representing all of them. Why? Because those businesses contribute more. Now, here's another scary fact. You want to talk about dirty as fuck? Go back and look at all these judges. There's an investigation going on right now on all these judges, state judges. Guess who the number one contributor is? Always a law firm. Always one law firm. Why? Does that law firm practice in that district? Oh, absolutely they do. Is that not a conflict of interest to give money to a politician to get your cases and think you're going to have favoritism? Do they recuse themselves on their biggest donors when they represent them?
Right, absolutely not. They just say maybe next time we won't do this next time. We won't do it.
Well, you got to find out. You got to play the game of, hey, Bob and so was on the same football team, or they all go to the same fucking church together. That's a conflict of interest. Well, we don't see that. We're upright people. It doesn't fucking matter what you think. The rule of law is if you have any association with that person outside this courtroom, you're not supposed to have them in the courtroom. It's a conflict of interest. So that whole thing about playing, football boards and everything else and all that other shit, that's a conflict of fucking interest. You should be in that courtroom. You're supposed to be autonomous. You're supposed to be blind. You're supposed to be fair and just. How can you do that when Bob's your fucking uncle and he's over there on the other fucking side?
Yeah.
And then you've got a public school system. You think this is multi-layered public education. Well, why don't you? Hey, how many people had to take that are on this show or out in that audience had to educate themselves once they finally encountered the family court system of what the hell's going on? Why wasn't I taught the basics of that in the fucking school of how to do that? But wait, didn't they receive federal fucking money? Our taxpayer money, federal funding, grants? But you can't teach the Constitution or cursive how to read the Bill of Rights or the Constitution? That's an act of treason and sedition. You're looking to overthrow the government. Why aren't they being held accountable? Teachers, we want more money. We want some more money. I say you get less money because you don't teach what's supposed to be taught. The Constitution, the very foundation of our country. Every person should know the Constitution and their rights in and out before they turn of age to vote. 18.
And be tested on it. Because you know who else has to do that? People that get their citizenship need to know this stuff.
Oh, wow.
Don't get him started now. Wait a second.
Oh, I'll start the thought real quick, Brenda. This is the root of it. This is the root of the issue is the Constitution was supposed to be the absolute, and it's not. And we've got to return to this. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country, and it's going to be overthrown. And the thing is, people are going to passively be stuffing their faces, like RFK said, all these poisons, red dye 40, fillers, seed oils, all these other things that are making you sick, giving you cancers, proof that it's done, and vaccinations that cause all these things. I was looking on RFK, they had this thing on measles. He goes, you know what cures the measles and some of these other things now? Vitamin A that we didn't have access to. We know we don't need this stuff anymore. It was a lack of this and that. Hell, there were TV shows that had it. When their kids got sick, I got the measles, Brady Bunch. Remember that show? They have the measles on
Oh,
there
yeah.
and dealt with it. Same way with chicken pox. Everybody comes in, gets it done, and you got it. But now they want to inject you with something that is, oh well, the reason it's not around those terrible things is because we have vaccines. They're eradicated because we
Don't
know.
talk about it. Hey, shh, 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 shh. Let's not talk about that. They'll kick this episode off.
Oh,
We can't say the word. We can't say the V word.
Ah.
For some reason, they don't like that, and they block our shows when we talk about that. I'm not sure why, but they do.
The vitamins. Talking about the vitamins.
Yeah.
Oh.
The things that they give us when we can't say the word of the things that
Hold
happened
on.
4 years ago.
Let me rephrase that so we don't get canceled. I am simply quoting RFK is exactly what I just did, and that is nationally syndicated press that was out there. I am merely talking about that one particular interview that was nationally televised, and I am just reiterating what he said. Bottom line, so if you take me off or take us off, you're going after RFK as well.
And we will make an admission to them saying that this happened.
Yes, we will. Because that's all I'm doing is quoting. Once again, we're not coming up with these are our original this and that thoughts. These are regurgitated things. These are things
right.
that
we report. We're a news agency. We're a news agency.
We're here to report the news. This is what happened today.
Yeah.
Brenda scratched her face.
Shut up.
Did you scratch your face?
I was trying not. Yeah, I was trying not to too.
Kids out there smoking cigarettes somewhere. Benny,
Right.
well, Benny's here.
We don't know. Benny's either in jail or at his house. One of the two.
Vinny doesn't have electricity.
Benny's out.
Oh, he lost it. I'll tell you what. There's some serious stuff going on up here in the weather. I mean, it's nice out, but man, it is freezing and it is windy as MF.
Yeah, that's what I said. Today it was 70 degrees. I walked out on the beach in my shorts. Blah blah.
Oh, now let's go to another issue with modern medicine.
He was just scolding you in the background.
So here's the other thing. A lot of times when you cut the umbilical cord, the placenta and the cord is still full of things your baby needs. But they benefit off of that because they sell that off as research development and they make other things out of it. You're actually supposed to hold on to that, and your baby's supposed to, even after
to get all those nutrients.
It is suck it fucking dry.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that they said, somebody had talked about, there was a concept of, listen, there's a whole different movement too with women selling off their breast milk because other mothers can't, and they just have so much in the freezer. And even if you can't, let me tell you something. I would think it would make logical sense if you did that. And that was the whole thing of the whole community or a village to raise a child came from, was a child then, especially during the clans and some of the others, would suckle. Yes, I said suckle for my wife. She hates that word in her books. Suckle on the mothers of everybody that possibly could in that particular clan, tribe, or anything else. And it made the child stronger, because it got all the nutrients from all the mothers in the neighborhood. And that was one of the first things that they started coming out with too. Well, if you can't breastfeed, don't do that. Hey, we have something different. We have now Big Pharma's come out with what? Artificial formula. This is a substitute for baby's milk. And you don't get you take away that, you take away the placenta, and you wonder why we're so sick. And children are so weak when they come out, because we're stealing the things that our Creator gave to us to give to that child naturally. That umbilical cord and that placenta is supposed to be shriveled up, almost dry, to where it's just real simple. But as soon as the baby comes out, what's the first thing they do? Grab the baby, clamp, scissors, hand the baby off. I mean, I've been in several, as well as delivered a few myself. Children that are born in cesarean or anything else, you watch through this, or even natural birth. Cesarean, it's very common. They'll get in and out and everything else. They won't do that. And they'll just bloop, 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 and it'll naturally fall out and it'll disconnect from the wall. But then they start cutting it and it's just sitting there in a pan. And the baby's not getting what it needs. So now you got sickly children. You wonder why you're sick. And here's the funny thing. Now CPS comes after you because you have a sick child all the time. Well, who fucking caused it? The hospitals, the doctors, the people that delivered your baby, that you couldn't get that stuff in. You see the cycle? It starts from the very beginning. That's what they want your child. That's why they're like, oh no, we want your child born in a hospital. We showed that other video too, that mother, hey, your kid needs to go on ADHD medicine. And if you don't, I'm calling CPS. No report from the parents, no report from me. I mean, that video was freaking crazy. Well, I'm a mandatory reporter. If you don't do what I think is best for your child, that's medical neglect and we'll file on you. What the hell? We got to stop it. We got to get them out of it. If that means, you know, hey, well, we can't afford health insurance. Do you really need it if you really took care of yourself? But you don't want to talk about the option, the stuff you can't make money on because it's found where? In nature. So there's no profit in that. Oh, wait. Government already put limitations on that, but they can't cross that line. Doesn't mean so they don't support it. They only give you one perspective. But is it still acceptable? Yes. But you got to know how to fight it if that's what you're dealing with. Why? I'm fighting it under my First Amendment right, under my right to religion and my beliefs. When you know how to articulate that, there you go, because they don't enforce it on the Amish. Got to look up a few things and make your point when you're arguing things in court. That's the other thing. Here's an example. Here's some case law. And if you're going to do it to me, but you're not going to do it to them, that's called discrimination. And that automatically, when you can put those two together, freak out. If people were aware of their rights, when the CPS worker first come in, the first thing when you saw a judge, you can't issue shit. You can't do anything. Why? I want to change the venue immediately. Change jurisdiction. Change jurisdiction. Why? I have a constitutional rights issue from the very beginning, Your Honor. What does that mean? You can't move forward civilly or criminally. They're frozen. If you claim it from the very beginning, it's supposed to stop and change jurisdiction. Your attorney is supposed to know this, but
see, that's one thing I did with our dependency case. That's right away. I said we should do a change of venue, and
change of jurisdiction. I misspoke when I said venue. Venue is just a different courtroom. Jurisdiction means the state.
Go on. But hold on. Go ahead, Brenda. Go with that.
But I was just going to say that the court-appointed officer said, no, you can't change venue because what happened in Dixie stays in Dixie. So that's Dixie County. That's what she told me. And come to find out, it was bullshit because then later on, another court-appointed officer came in for my daughter and said, if I would have been in here before, I would have had a change of venue.
Well, hold on again.
So, I mean, I don't know. Did you get that on record? Because that's some of it too, is that you can also call for an appeal all the way up to the federal courts for procedural matters. Should have been change of venue. And if it didn't, you need to get a ruling on it. So maybe it's just a matter of picking apart what's already happened sometimes, instead of what it's in. Because the beauty of the appeal is there's no statute of limitation or time that you can file, especially with new evidence. There's no thing saying, oh, after 30 days, you're just locked in, it's on you. No, because they've reversed decisions on criminal cases due to the fact of DNA evidence, of change. There's different factors that'll qualify you for an appeal, change of jurisdiction, hey, procedural issues, this came out, or there's a new federal case ruling that specifically defines this. That's the stuff you have to keep up with. So there's a lot of people walking out there that have had constitutional rights issues in the past with CPS that say, well, this happened to me 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Well, there's no statute of limitation on constitutional rights violations. You can still file today for your case that you had 10 or 20 years ago. And you can use some of the same methodologies that we'll be exposing and things that we've talked about to stop completely stop it. Because that gets a judge in big trouble. And when you realize the other part is that the judge actually has the evidence in front of them of the Fourth Amendment violation, and you know where to look for it, that causes a big problem for the judge, because under review, when you can point it out, Your Honor, or under your appeal, it's right in the evidence. The judge just blew past it. And then the judge gets in trouble, and then they look at it and they go, wait a minute, didn't you do a constitutional audit on this case? And of course, they're going to go, well, yeah, I looked it over. Well, then if you get other people that has the same judge, then you're looking at, it's not an isolated incident. Then you begin gathering more evidence, more people, repetition. So if this judge has got 200 cases doing the same fucking thing, obviously it's not a mistake. He's being grievous, and something's happened and needs a full criminal investigation into it, because nobody should be ruling like that against the Constitution. And when they do those investigations, they do look back at their other cases and compare and look for the same thing similar in every case. And that's why I'm saying that's what they're not going to like about us, is we know exactly where all of it is. So once it comes down, that's why I'm telling you guys, stay on this channel, hit the like and share and follow all of our different shows that you can, because there's different things. But I guarantee you, as soon as this gets going, my show eventually, Gunning for CPS, on Sunday nights at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you are going to see a change once this gets going. Because once we, how should we talk about that, Darren? It's kind of like a bullet. Once we send it, there ain't no going back. We're committed to it. It's game on. How would you describe that, Darren? Your mic's off. Darren?
I would say once we shoot that, man, it's tuck your head between your tails, tuck your head between your legs, and hope for the best, man, because that's what's going to have to happen here. I mean, that's it. We're going to fire this shot. It's either to be heard around the world or we fail. But failure's not an option.
Nope. The
So
U.S.
that's
sent
why
2 planes
we're taking our
to
time
Japan
here.
when they attacked Pearl Harbor. We've got 1. We're like that Armageddon thing heading out towards the asteroid. And here's the thing, anybody that's involved with it, we have no problem laying down our lives on that tree of liberty. Not one reserved for our kids. So that idle threat of everything else, I'll do this and that, doesn't bother us. That's the best you got. Why? Because I'll go down in history taking you out. And once that ball gets rolling, the other thing you don't see is you see me coming after you. But you don't see the millions behind me that once I crack open that wound, they're going to smell blood. And let me tell you something, these parents are hungry and they want their kids back that bad. You're going to see this country explode. So when I say look out, things are already falling in place with administration. DOGE's looking at stuff. They're looking at Social Security Administration. They can't touch the Title 4D because it takes an act of Congress to defund that completely. Well, let me tell you something. What if we go to them with something so powerful that it makes Congress rewrite Part D completely, or eliminate the Social Security Act and completely rewrite it because of mass corruption and treason and sedition? Because guess what? Knock, knock.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah,
guys, I think we're about an hour and a half in. When's our next show coming up there, Darren? We still got time.
Friday, so I guess we got Unmasking Foster Care Corruption coming up in I think right about now, between now and 45 minutes. I think it's either 5 or 6 tonight, so we probably should bounce in case it was 5. We might have rolled it into our time. I think it's 6 o'clock tonight, though.
But listen, guys, there's no fixing this system. The only way that this happens is destroy it. Why? Because the very basis of it is very unconstitutional. If it's criminal, absolutely get involved. When there's a crime, you're innocent until proven guilty. You have constitutional rights. At the same time, no government authority or anything else should come between you and your family when there's been 0 crimes committed. And I mean criminal thing, and getting it in the right courtroom. Quit dancing around in civil court like a bunch of wussies and turn around. And if you're going to charge it, fucking charge it and do criminal. Why? Because you won't win, because we know you're corrupt and you can't get away with it. So there's our thing. Know your rights. Follow our shows. Like and share. Brenda, your show. Gunner's out of here.
Hey, Brenda, welcome to your show.
I said I wanted somebody to come in, so that worked out pretty good for me. That's what I'm thinking. It's just like I think I'm agreeing with Gunner on quit messing around with these lower courts, because ultimately the judges are committing federal crimes, and this is who we got to focus on, is getting these judges arrested and seeing due process finally. And like I say, that's just the first step to getting our children back, is exposing these judges and making them accountable for what they've done. And that's about it.
All right, hold on. Let me talk for like 20 more seconds. I'm trying to get.
Well,
for you.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. You guys, and again, my email is brendacambron91@gmail.com, because like I said, we're trying to get a lot of parents together that are interested in getting these judges arrested. The more the merrier, because we got to hit them all boom at once, not just scattered here and there, all at once. That's what we're looking for.
I'm almost there to put that up there.
Thank you everybody for coming in. That you guys are awesome. I'm glad that everybody was joining in the chat. I mean, it's really helpful, because for a minute there I was like all on my own. So thanks y'all.
Let's see. Oh, the hell with it. I'll get it. Wait, I'm almost did my thing.
So tomorrow I'm going to see Chris. Tonight we got a show going on, right? And Danielle's coming up here shortly, I believe. And
right, she's not already
trying to get Danielle to do a late night with me one of these days too.
Hell is bring back Brenda.
But there's sooner than later. I got and then I'm heading back home in Louisiana. Hey, we're getting people together.
How long are you there for?
Until Sunday, and then I'm heading back. But Pam's coming to my house. She's borrowing my truck, and they're gonna go pick up Wendy in her trailer, and they're back Wendy, and then we're gonna switch out vehicles, and I might end up coming down to see Chris again the following weekend to get our vehicle switched back out. Who knows?
He must have been very excited to see you. Must have been nice for him.
Yeah, it was exciting, and of course, that's really all we got looked forward to. And I guess today he messaged me that he got his tablet, so it'll be easier to message back and forth.
Now, do you guys get video on the?
No, afraid not. It's kind of weird, because we did video calls all the time when he was in county, but ever since they don't have their video working over here, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know where I put this thing, Brenda. I'll find it. We'll make everything work just fine after this. But I was trying to play your video, but I don't know where it went. So I'm just going to play the Brenda's fight song, and we'll end it with that.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Everybody, thank you guys so much. Sorry for hijacking your show, Brenda.
All right. Yeah. And check out my TikTok, too. I'm under Freedom now. Freedom.
Lost it all one day, no tears.
Have a good one, Brenda.
All right. Thank you.
Took it all away in fears. Kids, stolen life, a mess, nothing left. But she fought back with every breath. A husband locked away for trying so hard. Brenda's heart took blow after blow. 15 years gone, but hope's a bright star. She showed the world what they didn't know. She's bringing it back, Brenda's new dawn. Living her life, singing her song. Starting over, no chains to bind. Loving it all, pure peace. of mind. Now she's helping others rise and shine, teaching joy from a heart so kind. No looking back, just moving ahead. In her story, no tears are shed. From ashes, Brenda stands so tall. No one believed she'd break the wall, but now she's free, unbound and true. Brenda's living, showing what she can do. She's bringing it back, Brenda's new dawn. Living her life, singing her song. Starting over, no chains to bind. Loving it all, pure peace of mind.